It's emotionally between Hamoed Sukkot and Hamoed Pesach. Hamoed Sukkot, I mean, it's part of a process, and you can't help but notice that we're on the way up. Started with Elul, then you came Slichus, then Rosh Hashanah, Aseres Mitzvah, Yom Kippur, Ne'ilah, Sukkot, and the ultimate is going to be Simchas Torah. So there's such a clear pathway, so clear that we're moving up, that Hamoed Sukkot tends to lift us as we go through, particularly Simchas Beis Sheva. During Israel, it's easier, but there's a sense that we're going somewhere, that we're on the way up. Hamoed Pesach, on the other hand, we've had our Seder, had our Storim, and that's it, sort of tend to sort of, wind down towards the end of Yom Tov. In reality, that's not true. But we only discover that a little too late when it gets to Shvi Shel Pesach. But when you do think about Shvi Shel Pesach, it's more yesodistic, far more fundamental than we might have imagined. We know there's a mitzvah of securities Mitzrayim every night. Just did that in Hagodah, it's not just during the day, it's at night as well. In the morning, in the evening, we do it both times with the last pasuk of Krishna. It's finished, done. Right? Hashem's our God because he took us out of Egypt and finished. In the bracha that follows, the bracha that is actually the smichus geula l'tefillah, the bracha of Emes V'Yatzi in the morning and Emunah in the evening, there's a focus on Yetzias Mitzrayim, but much more of a focus on Kriyas Yamsuf. We talk about Mitzrayim Dal Tonu, Pesach Marokto, Golto, but then it's Yamsuf Bakato, Zaydim Tibato, Yetidim Habato, Beichatzuma Mitzrayim, and the rest, right till the end, talks about the Shira Sayom, about the Shira that we said when we came out of the Michamoicha, Hashem Yimloich, and that's how we enter Shmoneh Esrei. So if we were only to focus on the first half of Pesach, and not the second half of Pesach, we were only to remember the Yetzias Mitzrayim itself, without thinking, without contemplating what it means, what extra thing happened to us, what was special about Kriyas Yamsuf, then we're going to be missing that Geula L'Tefillah. It's something that comes up every Shacharis. It's central to Ma'ariv, and it's Emunah, it's exactly the same thing. Then there's a focus on Kriyas Yamsuf, the fact that we're saved from the Yamsuf, and the Michamoicha and Hashem Yimloch. And it's actually the third time in the day, because we did it in Oz Yosher. Up Sukkot Zimra, finished with the Choros B'Abriz, and then Vayesha, and then Oz Yosher. So Kriyas Yamsuf and Shira Sayom comes up 3 times a day. Then Sukkot Zimra, you meet it again, the Krishna of the Geula L'Tefillah, and again at night, Geula L'Tefillah. It's got to be something more than just another big bang for the Egyptians. I don't think got 10 times as much in Kriyas Yamsuf. We said in Hagodah, but still, there's a Chazal that asks why we're called Ivrim. Why are Jewish people called Ivrim? And the answer given is Ivrim al she'ovru yam. We're those who went through. Okay, no, we had lots of miracles. We ate man for 40 years. We drank the waters of the Be'er. We're not called Be'erim or Monim. And here it was a one-time event. We went through the Yamsuf, and we're called Ivrim, those who went through the Yamsuf. In 7 minutes. There are 2 aspects to it. I'm going to take the simple one because it's more relevant, and it's probably what we should be focusing on in Ma'ariv and the Shacharis. There is more, and we'll see. Time permitting, maybe we get to that. But the simplest, most basic approach is it all starts with the Beis Halevi. Beis Halevi's kasha, there's a number of kashas. The one famous kasha is the Medrash, and it's really a Rashi, B'Mayim and Chema, the walls of the water rises up as a wall around them, and it's written without above, Hamoed and Chema, there was a heavy anger, the Uzah, the Sar of Mitzrayim, whatever that means, the angel of the Egyptians is up there in heaven and he's saying, what was the business? How come? What, you're just the Jews and not the Egyptians? So what, the Egyptians serve idols? The Jews serve idols too. And when Hashem responds, what the Beis Halevi wants to know is, where was this until now? The last year, the Egyptians had taken a complete thrashing. They had 10 Maccas. And the Rebbe was actually beating the daylights out. I mean, it's amazing that they could actually get together and get onto those chariots and go out after the Jews. Tack an incredible Bani Achadus Leipara. It wasn't natural. They've been through all that, and all that time was a sitting there watching. What was he thinking then? The Maccas affected the Egyptians, didn't affect the Jew. Why did they come in? Why is there such a distinction between the Egyptians and the Jews? And the Beis answer is so simple. He says there were Esa Maccas. It's true, Maccas B'choros was slightly different, but it was still one of the 10 Maccas. What are Maccas? Translate it as you wish. Plagues, punishments, inflictions, whatever it was. There were 10 Maccas. A Macca is something that is given to people who behave as they shouldn't. The Egyptians had persecuted Klal Yisrael. The Egyptians had started up unfairly, right in a way that's completely wrong, had taken advantage of a nation that was in their midst, enslaved them, used them, and they deserved 10 Maccas. Whether we were tzaddikim or not, whatever level the Jewish people was on, they may not have been tzaddikim, but we weren't Egyptians and we hadn't beaten anybody up, so why should we get Maccas? So it was obvious that the Egyptians would get it and we'd be saved. That's when it comes to the Esther Maccas. When it comes to the Kriyas Yamsuf, it's exactly the opposite. It's not a question of the Maccas. The primary purpose of Kriyas Yamsuf wasn't drowning the Egyptians. That was a convenient afterthought. Once we're at it, Yamsuf, Bakato, the Zaydin, Tibato. But it was really Yedidim Hevarto. The Rebbeinu Shalom took us through the Yamsuf. We were stuck. We turned to him and called out for help. We were stuck. The Egyptians on one side, in a rock and a hard place. There was nowhere we could go, and he split the sea so that we had an avenue of escape. He did it for us. It was a miracle, right? You're walking through the Yamsuf, you're experiencing this incredible miracle. This space really doesn't exist naturally. It's a space that naturally is occupied by the water, and somehow, miraculously, that water has somehow moved to the side and been absorbed by the water next to it. And we're walking through this supernatural space. Why? Well, because because Hashem's in love with us. And then, who walks through and expects to merit a miracle? The Egyptians. They've got, unless you deserve a miracle, this is not a place you want to be. And indeed, as soon as the last Jew leaves and there's no miracle happening, then naturally the waters close on the Egyptians. When it comes to the Maccas is supernatural, so the Jews don't merit that Macca. There's no reason why they should. So therefore they're left with the reality of nature, and maybe more than that, protected, but they're not going to suffer the Maccas. Uzzah has nothing to say. But when Hashem's saving the Jews, and he does a miracle for the Jews, and he won't maintain that miracle for the Egyptians, he says, excuse me, these guys are no better than my guys. Your kids, your Jewish people, my Egyptians, what? So that's where the question starts. That's the Beis Halevi. When we stop and think about it, though, on a personal level, the difference between the Maccas, between Yetzias Mitzrayim and Kriyas Yamsuf. Yetzias Mitzrayim was Anissa Lakachas Lagoy Mitoch Goy, was a Baruch Hu releasing us from the bondage of Mitzrayim. But the fact that he showed love, he positively showed he was willing to change nature just for us, directly intervene to save us. That happens at Kriyas Yamsuf. The feeling, the sense that there's a Rebbeinu Shalom who cares for us personally, that didn't happen till Kriyas Yamsuf. As we walk through and we're over a yam, and we're going through this miraculous experience, we're walking in a space that is supernatural, that doesn't exist in the world of nature. We recognize he's doing it because he cares for us, because he's interested in us. So often, when we struggle with davening, if anybody else, I'm not the only one in this room, but if I am, I find davening a real struggle. Standing there, and it's hard. It's really, really hard. It's not hard once, it's hard all the time. And I often think the problem is I don't have enough emunah. If I really believed in the reality of a creator, if I really believed in the presence of Hashem, if I really recognized that he has the power to make a difference, I'd probably daven with a lot more cover. I'd probably be, the way Chazal described it, Ovi, a Pesach, as a poor man feels when he knocks at the door and comes to ask for help. It's difficult if we don't have that level of emunah. And it's true. If I had more emunah, my davening would improve dramatically. But I'm not sure that's the end of the story. Because even knowing that Hashem is all powerful, even knowing that He's there and He's able, if I don't know that He cares, I don't know if it'll make a difference. I don't know if I would daven the same way. To jump from Yetzias Mitzrayim to Tefillah and say I've got the Geula, the Tefillah, it's too much of a jump. You know Hashem is powerful. You know He can send Maccas. Yes. But do I know He cares for me? For that I need a Kriyas Yamsuf. I need to recognize the Kadosh Baruch Hu intervening for my sake. Yedidim Hevarato. 30 seconds for a story. 40. Rav Hirsch had a grandchild who was once asked whether he remembers any stories of his illustrious grandfather, Shamshul Chol Hirsch. He said, I don't remember. I don't remember anything. I don't remember anything significant. I'll tell you one thing. Because I was only a child when I met him, and I stayed in his house once. And I woke up early, as children do, and the house was quiet, except for the study. My grandfather was in his study, and I peeked through the door, and I could see he was sitting there in his tallis and tefillin, and he was preparing for davening. He was saying the first parts that he would say at home. And he was going through Adon Olam. And he went through it, pasuk by pasuk, and he translated it into German. He said it was beautiful. It was just a beautiful, beautiful sight, a sight I'll never forget. But then he got to the end. He got to V'hu Eili V'chai Goyali V'tzur Chevli Beis Tzara. And when he said the words V'hu Keili, he translated, Und ist mein Gott. He said, I don't know how long it was for. As a child, it seemed like it went on forever. But he just kept repeating it. V'hu Keili, Und ist mein Gott. And then he got more and more excited. V'hu Keili, Und ist mein Gott. So it seemed like forever. I'll never forget those words. To know who Kale, Hokel, Lagode, Lagiber Vanero, there's a great God out there. It's fantastic. Until we feel the who Eli V'chai Goyali, the Tzur Chebli Beis Tzara. What are the chances that we're going to daven properly? And that's perhaps why it's Kriyas Yamsuf that brings us the smichas Geula L'Tefillah.